In the history of professional sports, there has never been a figure quite like LeBron James. We have seen the prodigy, the villain, the hero, and finally, the billionaire. But as we sit here in April 2026, a new title has emerged, one that the NBA's front offices in New York have tried desperately to keep under wraps. That title is the shadow owner. For the last half-decade, the narrative surrounding the King's retirement wasn't about where he would hang his jersey, but rather which city he would own. The destination was always Las Vegas. The plan was always total control. However, what started as a legitimate business ambition has spiraled into what insiders are now calling the illegal gamble. This is the story of a secret expansion deal, a massive conflict of interest with the Players Association, and a federal investigation that has turned LeBron's sunset years into a legal minefield. The Vegas Blueprint. To understand how we got to this point, we have to go back to the summer of 2021. This was the year LeBron James officially became a partner in Fenway Sports Group, or FSG. At the time, it was hailed as a masterstroke of athlete empowerment. By owning a stake in the parent company of the Boston Red Sox and Liverpool FC, LeBron wasn't just a player anymore. He was a peer to the most powerful owners in the world. But there was a catch. The NBA has a strict collective bargaining agreement, the CBA, that explicitly forbids active players from holding any ownership stake in an NBA franchise. This rule exists for a simple reason: competitive integrity. You cannot be the person playing the game while also being the person who signs the checks for the opposition. However, the secret deal allegedly bypassed this. Sources suggest that LeBron and FSG entered into a handshake agreement with high-level league consultants. The plan was for the NBA to announce a two-city expansion, Las Vegas and Seattle, timed perfectly with LeBron's retirement. FSG would be the lead investor for the Vegas franchise, and LeBron's shadow ownership would be converted into a legal majority stake the moment he filed his retirement papers. It was the perfect exit strategy. A multi-billion-dollar team handed to the greatest player of his generation as a parting gift. But in the world of high-stakes sports, nothing stays secret long, and the price of entry was about to become an insurmountable wall. The $8 billion barrier. By early 2026, the economic landscape of the NBA had shifted. The new media rights deal had pumped so much cash into the league that the value of franchises tripled overnight. When Adam Silver sat down with the Board of Governors in March 2026, the number they landed on for the expansion fee wasn't the expected $4 billion, it was $8 billion. $8 billion just to join the club. This changed everything. Even for a billionaire like LeBron and even for a powerhouse like FSG, the math stopped making sense. The sticker shock sent shockwaves through LeBron's camp. If FSG couldn't justify the $8 billion buy-in, LeBron's path to ownership was blocked. This is where the secret deal began to crumble. On March 18, 2026, the world watched in confusion as reports surfaced that FSG was reevaluating its interest in the NBA. This wasn't just a financial pivot, it was a public abandonment of the Kings' primary post-career ambition. When LeBron told reporters the next day that he was not at all involved in the Vegas bid anymore, it wasn't a choice, it was a concession. The secret deal was dead. Killed by the very inflation LeBron's own success had helped create. But as the financial door closed, a legal one was being kicked down by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Brooklyn indictment, Damon Jones. While the sports world was focused on the Vegas numbers, a much more grim reality was surfacing in a Brooklyn courtroom. In late 2025, the feds launched an investigation into an illegal offshore gambling ring that allegedly catered to high-net-worth individuals and professional athletes. In April 2026, the hammer finally fell. The name at the top of the indictment? Damon Jones. To the casual fan, Damon Jones is just a former NBA journeyman and a longtime friend of LeBron. But to those inside the Lakers bubble, he was the vault. He was one of the few people with unfettered access to LeBron's private world, his training sessions, and most importantly, his medical status. The indictment alleges that Damon Jones operated as a high-level information broker. The scheme was sophisticated. Jones would gain non-public information regarding player health, specifically LeBron's, and leak it to a network of bettors before the Vegas sportsbooks could adjust the lines. If LeBron woke up with a swollen ankle and knew he wasn't playing against the Bucks, the gambling ring knew it 2 hours before the Lakers' PR staff did. This is allowed the ring to place massive, sure-thing bets against the Lakers. This is the illegal gamble referenced in the headlines. It wasn't just about a team in Vegas, it was about people in LeBron's inner circle using his body as a literal ATM for illegal bookmakers. The locker room raid. The fallout was immediate. The NBA doesn't just care about the money, they care about the perception of the game. If the King's own circle is tied to gambling leaks, the entire league's integrity is compromised. In mid-April 2026, the NBA took the unprecedented step of seizing cell phones from players and staff within the Lakers organization. They weren't looking for LeBron's betting slips, because by all accounts, LeBron himself doesn't bet on basketball. They were looking for the shadow network. They wanted to know who else was on those text threads with Damon Jones. They wanted to see if the Vegas expansion group had used this same privileged information to court investors or manipulate market interest. The investigation shifted from a gambling case to a corporate espionage case. The question became, was the Vegas bid being funded in part by the proceeds of these leaks? Or worse, was the promise of a Vegas team used as leverage to keep people quiet about the gambling ring? The conflict of interest had gone from a breach of the CBA to a potential violation of federal racketeering laws. The Player Association's dilemma. As the feds circled, the NBAPA found itself in an impossible position. LeBron James is the NBAPA in many ways. He has championed player rights and ownership for 2 decades. But if the allegations are true that an active player was acting as a shadow owner while his associates were undermining the integrity of the game through betting leaks, the union has to distance itself. The younger generation of players began to voice their concerns. Why should LeBron get a secret deal for a team while the rest of the league has to follow the rules? The tension reached a boiling point during the 2026 All-Star break. Behind closed doors, veteran players reportedly confronted LeBron about the Vegas bid. They argued that his shadow ownership was driving up expansion fees for everyone else, making it impossible for other players to ever own a piece of the league. The king was becoming a monarch, and the peasants were ready to revolt. The secret deal for Vegas had not just created a conflict with the league, it had created a civil war within the brotherhood of players. The collapse of the empire. By the end of April 2026, the Vegas dream looked more like a nightmare. Damon Jones is scheduled for a change of plea hearing on April 28th. Rumors suggest he is cooperating with federal authorities. In the world of federal indictments, cooperation usually means giving up a bigger fish. Whether that fish is a high-level FSG executive or someone inside the Lakers front office remains to be seen. LeBron James currently sits at a crossroads. He's 41, his body is finally showing the miles of 23 seasons, and the franchise he spent 5 years trying to build in the desert is slipping through his fingers. The NBA expansion will still happen. Las Vegas will get its team, and Seattle will get the Supersonics back. But the name on the owner's suite likely won't be James. The illegal gamble was a bridge too far. LeBron tried to play the long game, attempting to secure his legacy as an owner while still reigning as a player. But between the astronomical $8 billion entry fee and the stench of the Damon Jones gambling scandal, the league has moved on. The secret deal was torn up the moment the FBI stepped into the Lakers' locker room. Conclusion: the cost of the crown. LeBron James will retire as the greatest scorer in history and perhaps the greatest to ever pick up a basketball. But the Vegas scandal will serve as a cautionary tale for the player-owner era. It shows that even a king cannot bypass the rules of the house. The house always wins. And in 2026, the House decided that LeBron James was a player and nothing more. As the investigation continues and the Damon Jones plea hearing approaches, we are left to wonder, was the Vegas bid worth the damage to his reputation? Or was the illegal gamble simply the final desperate play of a man who realized that even his infinite power had a limit? The king remains on his throne for now, but the empire he tried to build in the sand of Las Vegas has already washed away.